Where did you grow up at?
I grew up on 52nd in Avalon. That's where, I mean, I was born. My father, that's the first house he had got was on 52nd in Avalon. Everybody know that that's the businessman neighborhood, South Park. So I don't know if my father was a businessman, but I know he had a lot of friends, and he used to always take us up to South Park.
So when did y'all move to the west side?
1960.
When did you meet Tookie?
In 66. Tookie moved over there in 66, but his stepdad, Mr. Fred, they had already lived over there since 62 or 63.
So how'd you guys become friends?
Tookie and I became friends because Little Wayne, his stepbrother, Little Tookie, he said, I got a big brother now. And I said, no, you don't. And it was funny. He just said, I want to see him. So we went over there, and Tookie and I was friends from that day. We had a few falling outs, but nothing major. And that falling out I already explained. And him and Mouse became best friends again. Took knew he could always call on the Magnificent Seven once the West Side had broke up. He knew that we always had his back.
Okay, when you moved to the West Side, what school did you attend?
Well, the first school that I went to was Raymond Avenue, straight up Florence and across Normandy. And the first white man that treated me with some respect was Mr. Art, who had the little hot dog place right there on the side. And he would always say, for every B you kids get, I'm going to give you a free hot dog. You get an A, you'll get a hot dog and a soda. So on credit card, on credit, you know, when we get our credits and our report cards, all the smart kids would be all lined up over there getting their shit. So one time Art said, well, how come you ain't in the line? Because he was in the back, I'm in the alley, that's where his freezer was at. I said, because I got a bunch of D's, man. He said, oh, don't worry, I'm going to give you something too.
What year did you go to Horseman?
I went to Horseman in 70. Took it all and was gone when I got there. So that's when Took it asked me to keep it going.
Then you went to Washington?
Yeah. And then I went to Crenshaw. Buddha told me to start it up at Crenshaw. He said, I want you to kick off it down there. And he said, I want some more homies to go there. So this is 70, 72. You know, Buddha was still alive.
All right. How many brothers did you have?
I had 4 brothers. I had one brother that was lived in the Avenue hood over by Munson, and that was my oldest brother, David. And David was a good brother too, you know.
Yeah,
and Mouse was my brother, and I had a brother named Rusty, and a brother named Lil Lucky.
So where does your connection to the West Side Crips come from?
Well, after the little altercation with Archie, Donald had invited us to come up to the park that day. But my uncle said it wouldn't be cool to go up there that day since this conflict is so new and it ain't that many of us, we outnumbered. Let me go get a couple of my homeboys out of Compton, and then we'll go up there on a day when we got an equal number as them, and then we could hash it out, you know, again. And so that day never happened. I was with Lil Wayne one day, took his little brother, and he told me that Raymond Washington was going to be up at the park. And I wanted to see Raymond Washington. I had never seen him before. And so me and Lil Wayne banks in the park, and Donald Archie sees me. But Donald Archie's a big old OG Crip. I'm a little, you know, harsh man, scrub, but I'm down. And but Donald knows me because I'm standing in front of him with a golf club, you know, a couple weeks prior to this. So Donald said, what is he doing over here? And then Wayne said, Lil Took said, don't worry about it, like that. And then I said, anyway, I'm going to be a Crip anyway, like that. And then Donald didn't say nothing. So then Raymond heard me say that, and he started laughing. So Raymond was playing ping pong. Took was over there playing basketball. And so I said, well, I need to get initiated, like that. And then they said, well, we ain't doing no initiations today. We're going to have a meeting, because meetings are mandatory every Saturday. So I told Mouse, I said, hey man, I already went up to the park and they didn't jump me, so let's all bank up there Saturday and get initiated. So all the sevens basically that wasn't already Crips. Gary Lane didn't need to get initiated. He was already a West Side Crip. He already been initiated. So we went up there, and They initiated us. Took just hit me like this with the glove. They gave Mouse more of a severe initiation. Who knows what it was stemming from? Maybe the incident to that. But the bottom line is that from that day, we were all treated as equals.
What park was this at?
St. Andrew's Park.
Did you attend the meetings at Centinela Park?
The funny thing you talk about Centinela Park, when I was the leader of the Dinka Crips, we ran campaigns to take Centinela Park. And it wasn't until a lot of the homies got out that I was able to be successful in that taking of that park. And from 1974 to 79, that was our park, for that one day, Sunday. I won't say it was our park 7 days a week, but Sunday, we would bombard them with so many soldiers that no one wanted to mess with us. I'm not saying that we didn't have conflicts in the park. I'm not saying no one didn't get, gunplay inside of the park, because that would be a lie. It's right in their backyard. So naturally, they're gonna make a stance when they get a few of their soldiers back. So that's how it was. But from 74 to 79, that was our park. I don't know why we were pushing up on the young family so hard, but I wanted a theater, because they had already closed down the Real, and that was Tookie and all the OGs. That was their theater. That's where they used to have their, mishaps and fights, with brothers from the APB and, whoever was close would come there and fight Crips. So I said, well, we need a show in our era too. So I said, we're gonna either get to Fifth Avenue or we're gonna go get this other show, which is down from it, right, on Crenshaw. And so we tried to fight for the Fifth Avenue, but they wouldn't let it go. But we ended up getting the other show, which was right down the street from it on Manchester, the Academy. And, it's a funny thing. Let's flip forward a little bit. We all went to school with most of the Van Ness boys in the chain gang. We went to Catholic school with them because their parents could afford a higher education for their kids. They had better jobs. Inglewood was better than living on the west side, and Watts, we were better than living in Watts. And Compton was better than Watts as far as financial things go. So the funny thing is that we all knew each other too, and as we were getting these melees going, fighting over the show and stuff, and getting a show, then we had to come home. And on the way home at night, it's like 12 o'clock at night. And then you got to pass down Fifth Avenue to get to our hood, and that's where Nasty Ed and all the, the chain gang, not the chain gang, but what evolved from the chain gang, the family would be waiting on me. And I would come by myself. And they would hit me up and talk shit. And, I'd be there talking shit back, but they didn't want to kill me. So, and I'd be talking shit to them. And I said, well, we could go head up. I'll fight one of you, like that. And then they said, no, it ain't about fighting. We're going to bust a cap in your ass. And then Kiki Washington's brother, I guess his name was Mark Washington, he would always pull up. I don't know if God would send him or what, but he would always pull up in this white Eldorado, and he would say, "Cubes, come here." And I would get in the car, and he would say, "Why are you always arguing with these dudes every week?" I said, "How do you always pull up all the time when I'm in it with these guys?" He said, "Because I live down the street here. No, I got a girlfriend right down the street." And so it's like late at night, and I'm ready to go home. So you always be right here this time at night. They always got you jacked up. So I'm like, what the fuck? Why they don't like you? And I say, maybe because I'm a Crip. And then once I told him that, he didn't like me no more either, because as you know, something happened, at his house party, where someone lost their life. So, but he always remembered me, protecting his little brother, Kiki. So that's why he had love for me.
What side of the Harbor Freeway was the 77th Street Boys on?
We talking about the 77th Street Boys. This was a tough gang. It was ran by a good friend of mine called Bulldog. I don't know where Bulldog is to this day, but Bulldog started it. And it was on the side of the freeway of 77th Street Police Station. It was by.
So that's on the east side of the freeway.
Right. It was on, but it was closer to, you know, the west side than the east side, because Raymond and them came over there to fight them, and they would fight all the time. When one of the fights that stand out that it took place, they would fight up under the freeway, and we had a Crip, and he was so down. But as thing, I don't know what happened to him, but he just quit being a Crip. He just quit banging, and his name was Pretty Boy. And Raymond, not Raymond, but Bulldog hit him with a machete, and he hit him with the machete, and it cut his cheek, so he had this little scar on his cheek. It wasn't an ugly scar either; it was a cool scar. I said, "Shit, I wish I had one, you know, that looked that cool." And so, you know, if you wanted a scar, you know, that was a cool-looking scar. So me and Pretty Boy, we would spend our time in juvenile hall. Ricky Silas, all of these guys were foot soldiers. We all grew up in juvenile hall. If you were banging, you lived in juvenile hall. I'm not bragging, but I got over 40-something arrests. I lived in juvenile hall. Tookie lived in juvenile hall. Archie had it right. He wasn't a banger, but he was a stand-up guy. He would fight. He wasn't no scary dude. He would fight, but he wasn't out there hunting people down. But he would get in fights. It was over money. It was over some type of business thing. He would get in fight. He had a hustle, you know, about himself. And that's the way it was supposed to be. As you get up out of high school, who's going to feed you? Your mom's not going to feed you. You got to start maturing up out of your gangbanging stage. And if you're going to be a law-abiding citizen, then that's the way you're going to go. But if you're going to be a hustler, then you're going to do things that hustlers do. You're going to pimp. You're going to sell drugs. You're going to do what you got to do to make your ends meet. You know, a lot of Crips and Bloods and all of the walks of lives from all of the inner cities lost their lives because they came back out of prison or camp thinking someone owed them something in their hood, and they start jacking the little homies, and they start getting gatted down, man, and they start having a Jones, and they were trying to jack people that they grew up with or people that knew about them. And it's sad, you know, that things in that way, but it in that way for a lot of people, man. And I can name a bunch of G's, you know, that died that way. I don't use drugs, so I knew that a little skinny motherfucker could control you in jail if you hooked on some dope. So I knew when I was in the joint not to use no drugs, because I'm not letting no buster tell me that I gotta go put a knife up my ass and go stab someone that owes him some money for some drugs, you know. So I didn't roll like that. And all about, oh, well, why did you start the black coats and, you know, inside of Tracy then? What was your reason for doing that? My reason for doing that is that me and my buddy Kilo, we said, well, we ain't gonna be no BGF. We're not gonna join this other shit that's going on in there, and we're gonna be black coats. And underlying of all of that, we were Crips. You know, and Kilo, the funny thing about it, he was a bounty hunter. You know, so we started the black coats.